thank you all for coming out today, and we have a guest, and it's a state official from Frankfort, and I will be introducing him shortly. But as you look at this sign behind me and see what says Treasure Finders, what that's meant to the people of this county, what it's meant to the people of this Commonwealth. As this state official, when he was elected, he thought about the people and money that belonged to them. And folks, the people that's got this money from Fulton County to Pike County, from the Kentucky Treasurer's Office, that was their money. That was our SHIP funds. That's their generation. This goes back to the early 1900s. And that is how it works. If you have bonds or whatever you have, folks, I got a check back. It wasn't for much, but I got a check back under this program. Many of you here today got a check back. I see Frankie, I got just about $10 more than he got. but folks, Bobby Mullins is not here today. Under this program, Bobby Mullins, who is our Commissioner of Solid Waste, under this type program, folks, he got $55,000 from the state of Florida that he had no idea. And they're going to talk about this national organization and how the states work together to make sure that this money belongs to them, gets back to where the people that deserve the money. What this has done, and we appreciate, many times officials don't look east in this Commonwealth, the people who lead this state. They just fail to look east. They forget about us up here. And it seems like that we have to fight for anything we get. I apologize today to those who drove up here on a partly two-lane road. We shouldn't have to do that. We are an energy-producing area. And through our severance tax and minerals tax, we put billions in the state budget that went into Everett County because they take 50% off the top, goes in the state budget. And then we get what's left. Now we're down to about 12%. And what's left, as you know, our coal business has gone down. But brought this program up here at a time that our people needed money because they had lost their jobs. The signature industry in this Commonwealth is coal jobs, coal miners. Average $85,000 a year. We got about 1,400 of those, Marie, that's out of work today in Pike County that draws zero, where 2.5 years ago they was drawing $85,000. They're moving out of here. We'd had job fairs in Western Kentucky. We've had job fairs from Alabama. They pay them and pay to move them down there. But we have with us today hired Keith Hall, our county attorney, who participated in this program, and his staff. Lonnie Osborne's staff, some of them are with us today, and Lonnie's wife is in the hospital. He couldn't come today, he wanted to. But we've had everybody involved in this program, and the volunteers and what you all did in the past is to let these people know that they had to fill out a simple application and contact these people. They was here with their computers, and you all remember, and you all are helping make this happen. Our state treasurer is going to tell you today of the goals that has been met in this Commonwealth. And today, I'm going to introduce somebody to you, and it's a deputy judge now, Judge Pruitt. James Paul Pruitt is going to tell you what this program brought to him and his family. And Judge Pruitt, I want you to come and tell them exactly what this meant to your family at a time, and then everybody that can relate to what this meant to these families out here, especially of those who had lost their job and in need of infusion of money to get into their families, and so they could continue sending their children to school. And it's a sad time. We just hope, Charles Carlton, that the Lord will bless us and that we can bring some of the things we're working on, who will bring some high-paying jobs into this area. So it is Jim, if you would come forward and.
Thank you. Let me begin by saying that I was sitting in my law office last fall. Phone rings, and Judge Rutherford. And he tells me, "You're on this list over here." A list of what? That doesn't sound good. He said, "You're on a list that says that there's some money that can come to you and your family and some cousins that you have that might need it. And if you will get on the ball, let us show you how to apply for this money, that it can be of some benefit to you." Well, it was some benefit to me, and I've received that money, and so did my cousin. One particular cousin who's no longer with us was at a point in his life where he was near the end of his life, and the family needed the money in such a way that the human touch on what Treasurer Hollenbach has accomplished in partnership with our very compassionate, caring, and on the ball county judge made this happen for us and for me and my family. And I'm thankful to Judge Rutherford and Treasurer Hollenbach. Now, Treasurer Hollenbach is a person I've known for quite some time too. I've known his dad for years, and I've known him in my other capacities in politics over the years, and through my law practice. I've known Todd Hollenbach here for quite some time. Now, what's really unique about him is that there have been many people hold constitutional offices in Frankfort over the years. Now, he doesn't work for the governor. He's a constitutional officer. He can go down there and draw his paycheck and look at his staff and go home every day, and nobody can say anything to him. But instead of doing that, he took this program that's been in existence for decades, maybe 100 years, and took hold of this program and took the initiative to cause the lives of people to change by having money that belonged to them returned to them. And I'd be remiss if I didn't take a moment to thank our state treasurer, Todd Hollenbach, for this, and thank also the fact that he initiates and works well with the local officials of Kentucky, and in particular our county judge. And this program was a success here in Pike County, and many of us were touched by it, and I'm very grateful for it. And I wanted to take a moment today to thank both of you for the work that you've done in this effort. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge Pruitt. Todd Hollenbach Sr. and I served together. He was county judge of Jefferson County, and I was county judge of this county. Knew him and the family. We became friends. We became real close friends. I don't know where Todd knows it. My wife was a D. Hart, and your mother was a D. Hart. And we met, talked to his mother, and we was able to spend some time with the Hollenbach family as we was in Louisville and Jefferson County. Made us feel at home. Todd Hollenbach, as Judge Pruitt said, he didn't have to do what he's doing in regard to this returning people's money to them and putting together and having the foresight to plan and to go out into this Commonwealth and to look east. We don't see some of these constitutional officers up here very much, Bobby, but this fellow's been in this county time and time again since we've been here and he's been in this position. So yes, he's looked east, and we just appreciate that. I appreciate my past relationship with his family and then with Todd. And what a job that he's done in regard to this. And Mr. County Attorney, I'd like for you to come up and just say a word or two, and then I want to introduce our state treasurer.
Thank you. All right. Hey, thank y'all. I'll be honest with you, I see him every Hillbilly Days up here. So I thought when I saw him, I thought he got here a little week early. I don't know if he had been informed that we set everything back a week. He failed to tell you his brother came up here and worked and helped blast some of these mountains up here. Worked with the coal company up here a while. I went to school with him down at UK, and I'm glad he's not here talking because he knows me in a different relationship than I know the treasurer. We had a little fun down at the university, and I knew he was from a very important, prominent family when I heard his last name and asked him if he was any relation to the mayor down in Louisville, and I found out he was the family, so I was kind of even more in awe of my buddy. So it's a great family. They're normal folks. I had to ask him and get out of him to him that he was a famous family, and this gentleman's the same way. He's one of us. He comes up here pretty regular, and he's going to hopefully stick around a couple weeks for Hillbilly Days. Thanks, Judge.
It's my pleasure to introduce to you Todd Hollenbach, Treasurer of the Commonwealth of Kentucky.
Thank you, and thank you all for being here. I see a lot of familiar faces. We are here today as part of a celebratory tour, quite frankly, and to thank you all and to make some announcements involving our Treasure Finders program. And I'll just get right down to it. We have surpassed our goal of trying to return $100 million to the people of this Commonwealth through our Treasure Finders program. And we couldn't have done it without you. I see some faces out here. I recognize some of you are volunteers. Obviously, I couldn't have done it at all without Judge Rutherford, who embraced the program with vigor and gusto. As soon as he found out what it meant, and he knew that it meant returning money to his constituents, he told me I better get up here. He was going to be calling my daddy, who he's known for a long, long time. But we are sitting at $103 million, and let me give you some context as to what that means. In the 6 years that I've been in office working on this Treasure Finders program, we have returned more money than the Revenue Cabinet and all previous treasurers combined in the previous 60 years through the Unclaimed Property Program in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. And it couldn't have been done without the work of volunteers and people like Judge Rutherford, who are willing to roll up their sleeves and do what they can to get money back into the hands of its rightful owners. Now, let me give you a little bit of background for those of you who don't already know. When I took office back in 2008, we had just gone off the fiscal cliff. You all might remember the real estate bubble had burst. There was no money for any new programs. But I was not satisfied with the job that was being done, returning money to people through the Unclaimed Property Program. And so I started looking for ways that we might improve upon it. Given that there was no money, that meant that we had to be kind of creative. And what we did was we came up with the Treasure Finders program, which is a proactive, volunteer-based outreach, which is a partnership between state and county governments. And our goal has been to go into counties where we can find good, willing partners like Judge Rutherford and ask them to help us find a group of volunteers, people who have deep roots in the community, people who know their community well, and ask them to volunteer a day to set up what is essentially a phone bank where we print off a list of claimants whose address was within the boundaries of that county. We come into the county, we set up the phone bank, we bring a computer or two with our database on it. We have the volunteers calling folks whose names they recognize on the list and inviting them to come down, and we get them started right then and there on the process of recovering their money. Now, this program works really, really well for a number of reasons, one of which is, obviously, if we're holding your money, that means you lost track of it. You lost track of it because your local banker or insurance agent or whoever it might have been that was holding it couldn't find you. After a period of years, they're required to turn it over to us as abandoned property after they do their due diligence to make sure that they can't find you. Well, if your local bank or insurance agent couldn't find you here in Pike County, the chances that me with my limited staff sitting up in Frankfort can find you are pretty slim. But what we found is that when we come into a community and we bring in volunteers, people who are involved in their local school boards, retired postmasters, people who are involved in the Rotary Club or the Kiwanis Club or whatever local organization it might be, they recognize the names right away and they know how to get a hold of the folks. And so we've had a great deal of success actually proactively reaching out and finding people. And the difference between the way we're doing this and the way it had been done in the past is historically, the program was very passive. We would advertise the names of the people in the paper, but we'd essentially leave it to you or a loved one to find out if your name was on that list. And in recent years, because of budget cutbacks, we were only able to advertise the existence of the program and tell you where to go to find out if you or a loved one might be on the list. And then you'd have to initiate the process on your own of trying to recover your money. Well, you can see how using local people who know the community, there are people in every community who can tell you who everybody's grandparents are, grandchildren are, aunts, uncles, sisters, and brothers. And those are the kind of people that we try to bring together for our phone bank operation. That's number one. Number two, we live in an age of great cynicism when it comes to government. And before I developed this Treasure Finders program, we tried reaching out as Treasury representatives, calling people that we could find and telling them we have some money for you. Well, don't you know, we had people hanging up on us because they thought it was a scam. Either that or they thought they must owe some back taxes or something. There was going to be a sheriff's deputy waiting to take them downtown. When they get a call from somebody whose name they recognize, who's a member of their community, they're willing to accept that, yes, we're working with the government, and yes, we really are here to help. So it really helps us to get our message out that these folks have money, that it is legitimate, and so it's been a great success all the way around. But the $100 million mark is something I'm really proud of, because Judge Rutherford recognizes, as I recognize, that this is not the state's money, this is your money. We don't make any pretense and didn't make any pretense that this was a gift. You know, sometimes politicians are accused of coming to a community, having ribbon cutting, and leaving with the impression that they just gave you something. Of course, it was your tax money all along. It was recycled back through the tax code, but this was never recycled money. This is your money to boot, and we want people to know that it's your money. And we just want to get it back into your hands. And the money that is not returned immediately goes into the general fund to be used by the legislature, hopefully for the benefit of all Kentuckians, because the legislature controls the power of the purse. So even if you weren't a direct beneficiary, all Kentuckians benefit from this program, because the money doesn't just find us. We have to go out and find it. That's how the program starts. And to that end, we've been pretty aggressive and pretty creative. We have gone after money in places that other treasurers have never even looked. We went after the life insurance industry because the life insurance industry had a practice where they were using the master death file to cut off benefits when they knew that somebody that they were paying benefits, health insurance benefits or something else, had died. But they weren't using that same master death file to find the names of life insurance beneficiaries who were entitled to proceeds. They would put the burden on you to go get the death certificate, fill out the paperwork, and call them. Well, a lot of these folks who were intended beneficiaries of life insurance proceeds didn't even know. They'd been named by an aunt or an uncle, and it had happened years and years and years back. They either never knew or didn't remember. And so we got millions upon millions of dollars that belongs to Kentuckians returned to our coffers so that we could then go out and find the rightful owners through the life insurance company. We just managed to get legislation put into the budget bill in Frankfort that is going to give us the ability to go to get the names of people who invested in U.S. savings bonds. It's estimated there are $200 million in matured U.S. savings bonds that belongs to the people of Kentucky, that the federal government has not been real interested in turning over the names to us. By us, I mean treasurers throughout the nation, so that we can go about the business of trying to find the rightful owners. Well, with the legislation we have now, we're going to be able to get into that treasure trove of information, get the names of those folks, and hopefully start getting that money, almost $200 million, returned to the beneficiaries right here in the Commonwealth. So we identify lost assets, we recover those lost assets, and then we go about the process of trying to return it. And that's what the Treasure Finders program has been all about. It's been about returning the money. It's been about getting volunteers. It's been about partnering with people like Judge Rutherford. And it has been so successful that we're out announcing that we've returned $100 million. I have a lot of people to thank for it. I've thanked some of you already. My staff in Frankfort deserves a lot of praise because we've done this, ladies and gentlemen, without increasing my staff. I have the same numbers in our unclaimed property division that I had when I first took office. But they're processing more than double the number of claims, returning about triple the amount of money, which means they're working a whole lot harder, so they deserve a whole lot of credit. But what I want to do also is tell you that we're not going to sit back on our laurels. We're very, very proud of our accomplishment, returning $100 million. It was a goal that we didn't have a lot of fanfare when we set the goal because, quite frankly, a lot of people might have scoffed at the possibility that we could reach $100 million, given that in the prior 60 years they had not managed to return that much money. And I wanted to do it in just 2 terms in office. We're 2 years ahead of schedule. So now I can either just run around talking about what we did and sit back on our laurels, feeling good about the fact that we accomplished our goal, or I can set a new goal. And that's the other announcement that I have for you here today. We are announcing that our new goal is 120 in 120. In other words, our new goal is to return $120 million and to make sure that we have a treasure finders program in all 120 counties in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. And the judge can tell you firsthand, it takes a lot of work, it takes a lot of organization, it takes a number of visits to the target county before we ever set it up. So it's not something that we can just snap our fingers and it happens. We have them all scheduled and everything all of a sudden. When we first started the program, we were having to go out and actually sell it. Judge Rutherford recognized the value right away, but there are some counties that were a harder sell because they didn't know about the program, they didn't know what was in it, they didn't know how it worked or how much work it was going to take on their parts. Now we've gained enough traction that we have county judges that are actually calling us because of the work we've done in counties like Pike County with Judge Rutherford, who was willing to take a chance, to have faith that it was going to work the way that we said it was going to work. Word's getting out at the county judges' conferences and everything else that this is a program that other counties ought to be tapping into. And so we still have probably 45 counties, 50 counties that we have to get to. So we've got a lot of work ahead of us in the next 1.5 to 2 years of the term that I have left. But 120 and 120 is kind of catchy. For any of you that have not yet checked, and I hope all of you have, it's easy to do, www.missingmoney.com, www.missingmoney.com. We have a lot of money still to return. We returned about $200,000 in just the short time since we had our Treasure Finders program here, right here to Pike County, and we're still tabulating, it's still going up. But www.missingmoney.com, we want you to remember that so that you can check for yourself and tell everybody you know to check for themselves to help us get their money back to them. This is probably the program of which I'm most proud since I've been state treasurer. Quite often when you're a state constitutional office holder, you're working on programs that are kind of at the policy level. And you very much hope that the policies you're having a hand in implementing will inure to the benefit of the people that they're supposed to help, but you don't always get to see it. But when we have our Treasure Finders program, as we had in this very room, this historic courtroom, you get to see the look on people's faces when they come in and they sit across the computer from a Treasury representative after they greet the person, one of our volunteers who had called them, and they find out that they've got a couple $1,000s or whatever it might be waiting for them. And you just see their faces light up, and you get the most satisfaction from those folks who you just know really needed the money. You know, for some people it's a game changer. And when you see that and you're there and you're working the program, it gives you the warm and fuzzy feeling that convinces you that you did the right thing by going into public service. Because public service isn't always warm and fuzzy. There's a lot that goes into it. But when you get to see it actually benefiting people firsthand, and you get to hear their life story, and you get to hear what they're going to do with the money, or why they needed the money, or that the money came from a source that they knew about but they forgot about, or they lost and had no idea what had happened to it, that's what really makes you feel good about going into public service in the first place. But none of it could have been accomplished without the help of all of you here today and a lot of other willing volunteers and county judges who rolled up their sleeves and participated to make it a successful program. And it has been a successful program. And it has not cost the taxpayers a dime, because it's volunteer-based. The judge provided the space. The judge helped us get the volunteers. The volunteers weren't being paid for it. My salary is going to be paid whether I'm working in Frankfort or whether I'm here in Pike County. We don't even get reimbursed for our travel expenses. We did away with our travel budget at Treasury long ago because the state was tight. So it's because of work of volunteers. It doesn't cost taxpayers anything, and we're creating little stimulus packages everywhere we go, bringing the money back into the community from whence it was generated, which is what government should be about. And so with that, I want to thank all of you. I want to thank the judge. I want to thank Keith. I want to thank Jim. And I want to open it up for any questions that anybody might have. If you don't have any questions, I'm not going to be upset. When we did this to start off our celebratory tour in Frankfort Friday, there were some reporters there that now that I think about it, did have some pretty good questions, and perhaps I'll front end them by saying it's not all money. We do have tangible items. We have a vault at Treasury in which we keep things that are either difficult to convert to cash or that have value beyond their cash value. Things like military medals. You know, if we were to have an auction and auction off some of the Purple Hearts or other military medals that were earned by our servicemen and servicewomen, they might bring $100 or something on an eBay auction. But the value of those medals, the memories that they contain, the stories that can be told for the family members are priceless. So we would never auction off anything like that. Those are the things that we keep in the vault and try to return. But we've got other things in there like guns, stamp collections, autographed baseball cards. We have a set of false teeth, an urn with the remains of somebody's ashes, things that you just wouldn't believe are back in there. There is no statute of limitations. If we have something that belonged to a grandparent that might have died 30 years ago as a rightful heir, you could still make the claim. And we have one of the oldest unclaimed property programs in the United States right here in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. So we've got properties on the books that go back into the 30s and 40s. We very successfully started a program which is a corollary to our Treasure Founders program, where we reached out to the Veterans Affairs Bureau and other military organizations to help return some of those military medals. And we did just last year return 2 Purple Hearts. I guess that's about all that I have to say. Oh, good, we got a question.
How much did we say that had been returned to Pike County?
Just under $200,000. Yeah, we're really, really proud of that, and it's still coming in. The benefits of a Treasure Finders program continue to ratchet up for about a year after the program because of the word of mouth and everything. People are getting their claims filled. They're talking to community members about it and encouraging them to go in and check the www.missingmoney site. So it keeps rolling for about a year after we actually have the program. Good question.
How would we know if we had a family member had tangible property there?
Their name would be on the list like anybody else's, and as soon as we looked into it, we'd be able to tell what it was, either an amount of money or an item held in the vault. So it's not difficult to do, but if you're ever in Frankfort, come by. We'll see if we can't give you a tour of the vault. It's stacked back there, and it's got some really interesting items. Any other questions? Well, if not, wish us luck on our new goal, 120 and 120. You can keep working to help us get to the $120 million by just talking about the program, because 3/4 of the battle is making people aware of the existence of the program in the first place. People are very resistant to the idea that they might have lost something. And again, I want to thank you all, because we really couldn't have done any of this without your help. And we hope to have more stories that we're making throughout the Commonwealth and more money returned. And I hope to blast through the $120 million. We might be back doing this again if we reach that goal. So thank you very much, everybody. I appreciate your help.